Claude has been under the radar for a while now. If we just look at the Google Trends alone, we know that Chat GPT is synonymous with AI. But I've always felt like when I use Claude, it responds like a grown-up, while Chat GPT is like a kid. Will tell you everything it knows, but it doesn't go very deep. That's why in my last video about perplexity, I mentioned I use Claude as my base AI model. Anthropic, last valued at $18.4 billion, has raised investment from companies like Amazon, Google, and more. In fact, it was founded by a brother-sister team who worked at OpenAI, and they left because they felt like the company wasn't taking AI safety serious enough. So since they released their latest model, Sonnet 3.5, lots of people have been saying that it beats OpenAI's latest model, GPT 4.0. In this video, I'm going to put Claude's latest model, Sonnet 3.5, up against their previous state-of-the-art model, Opus 3, to test if Sonnet 3.5 is really that much better in real life. I'm David Dundas. I'm the COO of the 8-figure brand YGN, and I have an agency where we connect creators with brands. I want to help you get paid to do more of the things you love. Hit the subscribe button if you're into that. We're going to be looking at 4 real-life examples of how I use Claude in my businesses: customer support, updates that I write to my investors, Facebook ads, and legal contracts. When you're running a brand, sometimes you make big mistakes. Earlier this year, we ran into material shortages in our factory, which caused shipping delays. Even worse, the customer support staff was overwhelmed, which then cascaded into us not being as communicative as we could have been. Needless to say, we had a big mess on our hands. Once we got through it, we really wanted to figure out the impact of our shipping delays on our customer satisfaction and how we could do better. So we sent off a survey. In the past, we just scanned through the survey results for improvements that we can make. Claude gave us for the first time a way to blend the qualitative analysis with quantitative analysis. So I'm just going to walk through them with you here. This is broken out into 2 separate chats. I just uploaded some data from our survey as a CSV file, and I said, please review the results from our recent survey. Please provide a quantitative breakdown of types of customers. So there are about 200 respondents, and it goes through how much they've spent. So I say, rewrite this so that we can better get a sense of our customer base by percentages. And so you quickly can get at what percentage were female, what percentage were male, the orders, and so on and so forth. Then we go summarize the types of feedback by the customers who were affected by the shipping delays. And it pulls out the feedback that the users had. So I analyzed the feedback from the customers who indicated they were affected. And here's some: lack of communication, lengthy delays, receiving incomplete orders, considering delays unacceptable, waiting for compensation, lots of not the best feedback. Now, I asked to rewrite the number of responses that were correlated with each type. And so you can get to a real granular level of what customers really felt, and you can support the anecdotes with actual data. Let's look at the customers who were not affected by the shipping delays and what was their feedback. And so we get satisfaction with products. They want more variety. They have positive customer experiences. Some weren't happy with the product quality or fit. Appreciation for fast. So a few did get their product pretty quickly, and they want the website to be better. So a broad span, but being able to toggle between customers who were affected by the shipping delays and customers who were not in this really quick way, almost like we're having a conversation, is really powerful. And so we have this kind of finalized output. So then what I did was I took that and I fed it back into Claude again. And so this was the output from that last chat. And I wanted to massage the data into a more structured report that I could share internally with our team. And so it looks at the customer data. It gives us some graphs. And this is with Opus 3. So this isn't with the newest model. This is with Sonnet. And it gives some anecdotes. Their key feedback: lack of communication. I emailed more than 3 times to pull out anecdotes so that as a team, we would actually see the words from the customers. And so we get this overall positive sentiment here, neutral sentiment here. It summarized it. And then I said, okay, customers who face shipping delays largely had negative sentiment due to frustrating with long wait times, poor communication, unresolved issues. And it gives this kind of overall assessment. So this is really powerful. The same conversation that we had, we're going to run it back with Claude 3.5 Sonnet instead of Claude 3 Opus. So why don't we scroll up here and let's just grab the exact copy and then let's upload the clean customer spreadsheet. They analyzed it, 189 unique customers. The majority of customers are female. It's a lot more specific here and more analytical. Shipping delays. Customers reported being affected by shipping delays. Overall, customer satisfaction is 59%, 40.21 reporting dissatisfaction. It also includes areas for improvement, particularly in addressing shipping delays and increasing overall customer satisfaction. And then it asks, would you like me to delve deeper into a specific analysis? So why don't we go back over here? Let's grab this and let's see what it says. Okay, so it looks at gender. Let's see what it did before. And so this is very different. This is just a very basic breakdown. There's not really a whole lot of analysis. So why don't we look at this as well? Summarize the types of feedback given by the customers who were affected by shipping delays. Many customers reported waiting for extended periods of time. It does break it down a little bit more clearly here. It gives an example and it gives its summarization. Previously, it didn't give any example here. It would just say, all right, this is what we summarized, and this is the category that it goes under. So this is actually better for sure. Previously, I had to ask it, rewrite this, adding the number of responses. Why don't we take a look at this? So this is interesting. So what it does is it does pull out anecdotes now by default. Before I had to ask it to pull out anecdotes. And also the way that it's breaking it down, it just is much more readable after the update. Let's ask the same question about people who were not affected. And so this is how I broke it down. It will figure out, all right, what are the different types of categorized requests that people had? And it will probably make suggestions. So let's see what it does. Okay, so types of feedback, positive quality. And if we go back over here, satisfaction with products, more variety. So it's the same data. It's just broken down in a more readable way, in a more logical way. All the information is there. It just tweaks it so that it's more readable. Then I'm going to ask this. I want you to review the survey and following previously summarized analysis and create a detailed report of the following: customer demographics, customer purchase behavior economics, the customer experience and feedback from customers who experienced shipping delays, the customer experience from customers who did not experience shipping delays, include graphs, tables, and specific customer anecdotes from the responses. So we'll paste that back in here. It looks like it's having an issue here. Okay, so let's see what we got here. So there were some graphs somewhere, and I don't know where those went, but here's the qualitative analysis of feedback from customers not affected by shipping. So if we scroll all the way up, what this new update does is that it creates these mini documents, and here, I guess you're supposed to be able to see it, but the artifact didn't work. So customer demographics, that's not working. Customer behavior and economics. This kind of gives a nice graph of the one-time customers, more than half, of repeat customers, 2 to 3 orders, loyal customers, 4+ orders. And then you have the graph here, customer segmentation by total spend, medium spenders, low spenders, and high spenders here. While low spenders make up only 13% of the customer base, they contribute about 43% of the total revenue. That's super interesting. Again, this is a small sample size from one-time customers to loyal customers. And so this is really interesting here. And so this graph failed. Customer experience with no shipping delays. And let's see. So this graph also doesn't work here. People who didn't experience shipping delays like the product. So it's almost like flipped, inverse. People who had shipping delays, 83% gave negative feedback. People who didn't have shipping delays, about 87% gave positive or mixed feedback, and 11% gave negative feedback. And so the analysis reveals a stark contrast in customer experience between those affected by shipping delays and those who were not. This does it much more quickly. The first time I ran this, it took me about 30 to 45 minutes to run through that data. This is in 5 to 10 minutes. So it's much faster. You get at the data that you want faster. In this customer service example, it is much better. Are you allergic to financials? Then Claude is about to be your new best friend. At YGN, we send investor updates. When I write these, I usually have to do quarter over quarter or year over year analysis using our financials. This usually can take over half a day to draft. Claude 3 Opus, I didn't have to do that. Just went on a hike, talked into my iPhone as I was walking, and brainstormed what we were going to say. And we've redacted some information here that is sensitive to the company. But here's another great example of how workflow is changing with Claude specifically. I took the audio from the transcription here, and then we pasted that in. It talks about retail partnerships and just the breakdown of financial revenue and those types of things. And then I asked it to review and compare summarize the financial reports. The second step is I had to ask it to review, compare, and summarize 2023 and 2024 financial statements. And this is how it did that. And you can see your total income here, gross profit. And so I broke down year to date, key observations, balance sheet. And then I actually had to add the profit and loss and compare this to 2023. And so after reviewing, here's a comparative summary. So it does this breakdown. And then I say compare January to May of each year. And then it breaks it down by year. And then I say review the text and write an investor update, which opens with an overview paragraph and bullet points. And then I want to go a little bit deeper into the conversation about our retail growth versus our direct-to-consumer growth. And we put this together here. But the next question was, the update wasn't fully done. So I had another question of, okay, let's compare retail sales from last year to retail sales from this year. And then it compares. And then I ask it to update with this point. When you're working with the model, you want to lead it to highlight certain aspects of the information you want to highlight. And you want to recall that. And then you want to tell it, okay, let's wrap that back into the text that we're writing. And so I asked it again, what was net operating income? And then after this is the end of the chat. I took this offline and I did my own edits based on the draft that Claude gave me. And so I think this is always the thing, is that you as a human are still going to want to take whatever Claude gives you. You're going to want to do your own edits. So with that, why don't we go back into the chat, and we'll do the same thing. Is we're just going to grab this text here, grab that, and let's just paste it here. Let's also add the P&L from those last 2 years. And let's just ask it to do this. Take the following text, the financial report, and generate an investor update. Okay. So this is actually better. So we can look at the 2023 performance, 2024, it does net income, and then gross profit. And so it does the comparison. And then it takes what I articulated in the audio note, and it talks about the key developments, our product strategy, marketing pivot, operational efficiency, financial management, and then strategic focus, right? And so you have all these different pieces that now you can take and you can roll into a more detailed plan. We can just say review the text and write an investor update, which opens with an overview paragraph and bullet points, and then follows summary and the summary bullet points. YGN is currently undergoing strategic to ensure long-term sustainability and profitability. In response to changing market conditions, we are pivoting from primarily a direct-to-consumer model to focus on retail partnerships and distribution. This shift aims to increase brand visibility, reduce operational complexity, and drive profitable growth. While this transition has impacted our short-term financials, we believe it positions YGN for a stronger, more sustainable growth in the future. And so that's pretty cool. These investor updates would take hours and hours of review of financials and edits. And it's not quite there, but it gives you the bones in minutes, and then you can spend another hour or two fleshing it out. But this is the bones. And so this is actually pretty amazing. Even from Claude Opus 3 to Sonnet, it is much smarter. It anticipates what I want. It's much more thoughtful in how it delivers the packaging of information. With our consultancy, we also manage Facebook ads for clients. And so we do a really heavy data-driven analysis on how a brand, their Facebook ads are performing, and then we manage their ads accordingly based on what we're seeing and based on profitability. One of our clients, they left this note in our Slack one morning, just checking on our CAC goal. Yesterday, new customer AOV was 145, down from a prior year of 160, just doing some quick math. We're talking about gross margin here and what's the time frame for break even? Does the AOV drop yesterday change our thinking about CAC? So essentially it's customers are spending less on their first order. Can we spend the same amount? Or do we have to spend less on Facebook in order to be profitable? And here's the LTV graph, right? And so this is what it went through. The interesting thing is that I had to read through this, and I realized that it was using CAC on following orders. And so CAC is only on the first order. So I had to tell Claude this, and then it said, oh, you're right. I apologize for the oversight. So this is something that Claude does and Chat GPT does. Claude is pretty good in that when it hallucinates, it will get it right the second time, but you do still have to ensure that it's accurate so that you can call it out. So it's almost like you're managing the AI, right? If you have an employee that says something wrong or says something not true, sometimes you have to call him out, and you have to do that with Claude as well. What I'll do is, now that we have this, we're just going to go back. We're just going to grab this question, and let's go back to start a new chat, and let's put that here, and we'll add the content. Let's use that, and let's submit it. Okay, to maintain break-even time frame, CAC goals should be lowered proportionally to the decrease in customer profit. The new CAC goal could be calculated as new CAC goal equals new contribution profit divided by old contribution profit times old CAC. So $39 should be your CAC target, and CAC is customer acquisition cost, in case you're wondering what that is. And I really like this. It's important to note that this is based on a single day. Before making significant changes to CAC goal, it would be prudent to observe this if this lower AOV is a trend or an anomaly. And that's really smart. Is you can't make huge knee-jerk reactions to a day's worth of data. And let's just double check it. Did you calculate CAC on every order or just first time orders? This actually made the same mistake. So this is something that it still is not aware of, is what is actual CAC. And I think this is in general one of the downsides with Anthropic, is that there are some things that it just doesn't know, it hasn't learned yet, that Chat GPT, I think, has learned. And so this is something that we all have to be aware of, is that when you're using these tools, that you have to double check it. You have to review the work of the AI. One of the businesses I'm a partner in is a data and growth agency. So we had a question about our contract that we were using for a client that we were onboarding. Instead of going out and pinging our lawyer, I just pinged Claude. So we have a data analytics platform, and we analyze the Shopify store data. And we had this back and forth about the data onboarding process and what happens to the data after client is no longer with us. And so we had this kind of brainstorm about, okay, what do we think about this? Upon expiration of the 30-day term, we'll stop processing the data. Client will ensure a data succession plan, yada, yada, yada. We own the queries because that's our IP, and the output of data will be transferred. The cost of transfer will be agreed upon by the client and us, and the data will be output. This is using Claude Opus 3. So it does this kind of analysis, and here are some thoughts. Okay, and so they asked it to write the clause. It writes the clause, and we ended up taking it, editing it a little bit more, and adding it into the contract. Why don't we go to a new chat, and why don't we import this file, the contract. So we just paste that in. So it analyzed it. Again, here's the breakdown of the clause, potential improvements, consider specifying a time frame, placement. So it says, okay, you put this in section 2.2 of the contract. You may want to specify the format for which the data will be transferred, and it basically breaks it down. The nice thing, if we look at past conversation that we had, what you'll see here is that I had to ask it, okay, write a clause that we can add to the agreement and suggest the section it should be added to, or if it should be a separate section. I had to ask it this question as a follow-up, and this time it essentially gave the feedback. It laid it out more cleanly, in a more clean way for it to be easier to read. And then it suggested the new clause. So it takes the next step. And I think that's what we're starting to see here, is that the Claude 3.5 Sonnet takes the next step and thinks about what's the user experience around the information that I'm handing back to the user versus just being like, here's information. And so I think that's pretty cool. In 3 out of 4 cases, Claude Sonnet 3.5 is better than Opus 3, even though Opus is a larger model. And the updates are really, they'll help you be even more efficient with this tool. It packages information better. It anticipates what the next question is going to be better, but it's not perfect and it still has its shortcomings. So that's something that we all want to be aware of. Thanks so much for watching this, guys. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions about different ways to use Claude, leave them in the comments below. And if you're using Claude, or I missed something and you're using Claude in a way that you think is interesting, also let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Peace.